In one of my videos, I showed how to assess for the hip abduction firing pattern test to distinguish between glute med, TFL, and the Quadratus Lumborum. But let's say, for instance, that the glute med was weak on testing. So when a patient brings a leg up and we are shoulder, hip, knee in a line, and the patient holds the leg, and then by applying some pressure, you end up overcoming them quite easily, then it indicates that we've got a weakness of the glute med. And also, when the patient was to lift the leg, you might have noticed that when she lifts, she hitches from the quadratus, so she lifts up from here, indicating again that this is too active and then this is underactive. It's not simply about trying to strengthen the glute med and then the muscle comes back to normality. It's about trying to work out why the glute med might not be working. Have a lie on your back, please. So what we'll quickly do is to test the neurological supply for the glute medius. The glute medius comes from L4 and L5, and it is a nerve called the superior gluteal nerve, and it also supplies the tensor fasciae lata. So if there's a problem with L4, then we might find that the reflex is actually diminished. So when we test the reflex for L4, we bend the knees slightly, we find the patellar tendon, we use a patellar hammer, and we literally just tap. Let me just try that again. Oh, there we go. And you can see a reflex is elicited, so that's already a good sign, and that would be known as a 2+. There's no reflex of L5, but we can test S1 just to make sure that we've got the reflex. Place the leg in this position, dorsiflex the foot, and tap the Achilles tendon. And you can see that when we tap, we have a plantar flexion motion. To test the power of L4 and L5, then we are going to look at the movement of the foot. And then what we're going to do, what we're going to do is ask the patient to bring the foot up and in. So this pre-activates tibialis anterior, and then this is mainly L4 innervation by one of the peroneal nerves here. And then what we're going to do is, if I ask you to resist that movement, and she is strong, so that tells me L4 is good, and relax. The next one we can ask the patient to do is lift your big toe up. So this activates extensor hallucis longus, again by part of the peroneal. And if I resist that movement, and she can resist, which she can, it tells me that L5 is also good. So the power of L5 is a grade 5, and the power of L4 is also a grade 5. So, and the reflex, the deep tendon reflex, would be known as a 2+. If all that's negative in terms of there's no weakness, the reflex is normal, etc., then it might well be that it's the adductors, because they are antagonistic to the gluteus medius. So in one of my videos, I show how to assess for the adductor shortness, and if it is short, you can perform a muscle energy technique to try to lengthen, and then you can then retest the strength of the glute medius. So where we have a quick neurological test of L4 and L5, and we've also talked about the length testing of the adductors.